This is a charming love story, telling of a Taiwanese man in his 30s who accidentally meets a blonde beauty in a Swedish village, falls in love with her, and starts a family with her. Subscribe and like. It helps us a lot. The protagonist of the story is a 32-year-old Taiwanese man named Lin Jihao. He has an extraordinary passion for exploring new places. Since university days, he has been carrying a backpack, immersed in the landscapes and cultures of different countries, and meticulously recorded his experiences. One day, the word from Northern Europe suddenly resonated strongly in his heart. Sweden, a land I had never seen before. What would it be like there? Before, he didn't particularly resemble Wang Xikong's That Person from the Peninsula. But just thinking about Sweden made his heart surge. White snowfields, pine forests, Zhejiang's amber and pure air. Just imagining these things calmed him. After saving enough money and having sufficient annual leave, he mustered the courage to book a flight to Sweden, not at all expecting what he would encounter. After arriving in Stockholm, he had to quickly visit the popular tourist attractions, then prepare to go to the northern part. Many tourists focus on Stockholm or Malmö, but only feel that the true beauty of the Nordic lies in the remote northern villages. So he took the train and the bus, traversing through sparsely populated, densely wooded areas. This journey turned out to be more challenging than he had expected. As he delved deeper into central Sweden, sudden drop in uncomfortable temperature, rain driven by motivation begins to fall, making road conditions worse. Arrival time of the bus becomes unpredictable. Moreover, it was very unstable. It's not easy. However, he had no choice but to rely on his unwavering determination to overcome every obstacle. He spent the night on the bench at the small train station, ride with the locals, and capture the magnificent scenery encountered with a camera. Immerse yourself in this excitement. A few days later, he finally arrived. A small village nestled deep in the forest. It was captivated by the surrounding scenery. Fresh air swept through the trees. Snow covered the few houses. Sometimes sunlight shines on the snow and sparkles. It formed a scene like a skateboard. There is a small sign at the entrance of the village, but even if it had to consult his map, he couldn't find this name either, not even correctly represented on Google Maps. As dusk approached, he wasn't even sure. Is there accommodation in the village? I might end up sleeping on the street, he thought, aimlessly walking towards the village center. Suddenly, he noticed a low fence behind. There is a red wooden house. The house is built in the traditional Swedish green and red colors. Light comes out from the windows. I had to gather courage and knock on the door. A young blonde woman opened the door, her pale and translucent skin, deep blue eyes, and a slightly charming face. Captivating eyes. Hello. As he said, his voice carried a hint of cool elegance. Looking at the unfamiliar Asian man standing at his doorstep, can only smile awkwardly, carefully say hello in English. I am a traveler from Taiwan. May I ask if there are places to stay in this village? He blinked his eyes. Answer in accented English. There are no hotels or inns nearby. Also, some hotels close down in the winter. It's so late. What are you doing here? He had to briefly explain his journey, how he traveled northward, and finally arrived at this village. I should have taken the bus, but the times didn't match up, and there haven't been any departures recently. Are there no more schedules? I'm a bit stuck. He looks a bit confused. Then he tilted his head and asked, So, don't you have a place to stay tonight? What should we do? Can only wave my hand. Maybe there are some homestays in the village that can be recommended. He hesitated, explained that there are few villagers in the village, so traditional accommodation options are limited. Finally, he sent the package. I do have an empty room, but it's very small. I hope it won't cause you too much trouble. This is an unexpected proposal. Allowing a complete stranger into your home is not an easy decision. but it seems he felt he couldn't let a person stay alone in the cold weather. He had to, though feeling cool. But there was no choice. To spend the night outdoors in temperatures below zero. It was simply a nightmare. He nodded quickly. Thank you very much. I'll make sure not to cause you any trouble. I just need one night. I'll figure something out tomorrow morning. And that's how it is. Had no choice but to enter the house of this blonde woman. After taking off his shoes, he entered the living room. The warmth of the fireplace with the sound of pipa instantly dispelled the chill. In a corner of the room, there was a small sofa and a table. The wall was decorated with Nordic-style artworks and summer vacation. Night sky outside the window and a long road. The outlines of the trees are faintly visible under the moonlight. My name is Linda, Linda said, adding a piece of wood to the fire. I am Lin Jihao. You can call me Jihao. Linda smiled. Jihao is a bit difficult to pronounce. But I will practice. After a brief introduction, Linda had to take me to a small room. In the room, only a simple bed and a table. It looks like it was previously used as a storage room or guest room. Sorry, I just quickly cleaned it. So. A bit messy. This is my only empty room, he said vaguely. Well, I'm already very grateful after that. And so, their accidental meeting began at midnight. By a fireplace. The next day, they were woken up by the morning sun. The aroma of the coffee Linda prepared wafted over without fail. He could hear birds chirping outside. Just like a Swedish village. The air was exceptionally fresh and cool. He quickly got dressed and walked into the living room. Linda prepared bread on the small table. Second, milk. Did you sleep well? Only bread. I hope you don't mind, but it should be enough to fill your stomach. Oh, that's great. I like bread. He said that the two spoke carefully, in their not-so-fluent English, and had to be asked to repeat what they had said the previous night. Jed mentioned about his sad journey, and how long he planned to stay. He had to explain that he likes taking photos, and write about his travels on his blog. He also briefly introduced Taiwan. Taiwan, I know. I really like bubble tea and pineapple cakes, Principal Linda said. Could only briefly introduce Taiwanese snacks. Also suitable for scenic spots. Is Dan Linda particularly interested in Taiwan? Not quite clear. He was just slightly curious about foreign culture. After breakfast, he could only say that he would go around the village today. Imagine how to go to the next destination. He suddenly asked about the accommodation fee. Dallin waved her hand. No need to pay. This village is too quiet. We hardly have any visitors. You can fold it for as long as you want. He added that, if he is going to leave soon, he doesn't mind just trying to bend it, but if he wants to stay longer, he needs to find another solution. He can only carry the backpack with all the changes of Qin. Start exploring the village covered in snow. Quiet houses. Spirituality. Step 3. Find back. There are also some farms and small shops. This seems to be a very small village. Duang might only have dozens of residents. People generally greet with a curious smile. This unfamiliar Asian man can only reply in simple English, asking if anyone knows when the next bus to Defosse arrives. Received that the bus to Defosse only comes once or twice a week. So, they didn't know the exact time. They had no choice but to walk on the street. Some were at a loss, but he comforted himself. These unpredictable things. But part of the fun of traveling. He suddenly really wanted to stay longer. Hi, this is Xia. Capture the forest lake near the Arctic Spring. Very natural scenery. That night, I had to go back to Linda's house. The warm flavor of pork filled the room. Linda made a simple mutton and pork dish. Had to come in and try. He asks you how your day went, then invites you to have a meal together. I was going to eat it alone, but there are many. Do you want to eat together? Of course, I'd be happy to. Should I pay for the tasting dishes? No, Mariana. It's okay, we can split the cost together. Linda said with a slightly awkward smile. Lift him to the side of the table. Steaming hot pork and tender lamb quickly satisfied Jihao's hunger. They ate. While doing so, they naturally started chatting about their day. What did they see? Linda said she works part-time at the only store in town, taking care of some farm animals herself. When Zihao asked her if she had ever thought about moving to a bigger city, she replied that she didn't really like living in the city. I don't have family. I also like it here. I can only feel that she is very lonely. She is a typical Northern European beauty, with golden hair and blue eyes. But there was a hint of sadness in her smile. After dinner, she hesitated for a moment. Then Lin replied, if you don't mind, can I stay for a few more days? I want to see more of this village, he said. Of course, he would reply. Give him a reasonable amount of money to help him pay for living expenses. In fact, there is no other head chef in the village. If it weren't for Linda's help, he found it hard to stay there. Linda hesitated slightly, then said, all right, but I am usually very busy. So, you must help with household chores and run errands. Also, I value my privacy very much. So, I hope you don't leave your room and living room. After that, Xinyan readily agreed. Now this is a formal arrangement similar to a homestay. And that's how it is. He decided to stay in this village for a week, or longer, during the day, taking photos in the surrounding forest. He canceled the shooting of the scene with weapons rising. Sometimes he also helps Linda in the store. In the evening, they sit in front of the transcript together for dinner, share their stories in not-so-fluent English. Linda often teaches him Swedish phrases. He has to explain Chinese words and culture. At night, he sleeps in a water bag in the fire hydrant. But occasionally he walks into the living room, looking out the window, wondering when I can see the aurora borealis. He knows in northern Sweden, especially near the Arctic Circle, the aurora borealis can be seen in winter. But he didn't even know the exact location of the village. However, he still hoped, if he stayed there for a longer time, he might witness it with his own eyes. A scene that is rare to see in a lifetime. Meanwhile, he can only get to know Linda better. For example, Linda always says, his parents passed away when he was very young. He had no relatives or siblings, so he lived alone all his life. He grew up with government assistance. Lived in this village about 5 years ago. He doesn't really like socializing, so he doesn't like city life. Feels like living alone in this quiet place. More comfortable. Could only simply tell him. His family. He was born in an ordinary family in central Taiwan. Travel with the money he earned working at a tech company. My family might not even know how far I've gone. When I come back, I will show them my travel diary. I will also bring back pineapple juice, he said. Linda looks very interested, also a bit envious. As life in the village became more stable, can only deepen the curiosity between Linda and each other. A small silly laugh. Evening, they sat in front of the transcript, trying to imitate each other's Swedish and Chinese pronunciations, or showing each other the photos they took that day, talking about forests and amber. I saw this bird today. I think Taiwan doesn't have this kind of urine. I can only say, that's a bird that only lives in this region. Linda will answer. One day, Linda made a traditional Swedish pancake-like food. It is an angel. There is jam and fruit placed on top. Only 2 jars. Wow, just like European-style ice cream. The leader was pleased with his reaction. Jokingly said, you have to make some Taiwanese food next time. Can only agree with pleasure. I can make. Or some simple stir-fried noodles. A strange comfort spread between the two. It's still awkward to call them lovers. But it's definitely not like it's a simple matter. As night fell, they became very close. Even without speaking, they could feel each other's warmth. Then on a snowy night, only had to sit on the lawn. Sitting on a small hiking chair, he looked up at the star-filled sky, hoping to see the aurora borealis. The belle quietly approached, sitting next to him. "You're really amazing. Still outside on such a cold day," he said. He draped a small blanket over Jihao's shoulders. Jihao thanked him, saying he hoped to see the northern lights. Linda nodded, looking up at the sky together. The aurora borealis is not easy to see here. Conditions must be met. But if we are lucky, we might see. The two were silent for a while, hearts gazing at the stars. Every time their eyes met, a strange excitement could be felt. Linda smiled, saying that the braised pork you made today is actually very delicious. Although a bit greasy, but there's a strange, addictive aroma and flavor. Can only laugh again. This is because the ingredients you prepared are excellent. After sharing small compliments with each other, Lena suddenly asked cautiously, "Do you have a lot of dating experience in Taiwan? I see you've come this far. I think maybe you have some story." I can only pause for a moment, then answer honestly. More than anything, there isn't a particularly special story. Rather, I just don't want to get married so young. I have someone I like, but it didn't work out, so I traveled lightly like this. The leader nodded. I once had a boyfriend, but it was a long time ago. That was when I lived in the city, but we didn't get along well. Moreover, we didn't have family. I live alone in this village, so I naturally distanced myself from dating. A hint of loneliness in his eyes. "Don't you feel lonely?" He had to gather courage and ask. "I've gotten used to smiling through the pain, Linda. Sometimes I feel lonely, but among those forced to live in the city, more comfortable." Only then did I think of it. The complex life and exhaustion he experienced in Taiwan. He realized that wherever he was, everyone lived in their own solitude. That night, the two shared small stories like old friends, gazing at the stars. They were slowly but surely drawn to each other. A few days passed. They have already been here for over 2. Xingqi Lu. He no longer wants to take the bus to other places, but deeply immersed in the motivation of this village, in the scenery. He and Linda spent a very natural and happy time together. So part of him was also thinking, is it okay to stay like this? But he enjoyed every day, without too much worry. Then one day, a sudden crisis descended upon him. Only managed to take photos deep in the forest. Ended up getting lost. He walked further than usual. On the way back, snowflakes swirling. This blocked his view. His global positioning system wasn't working too well either. He also had no cell phone signal. Winter days are very short. It's already dark. Can only start to feel anxious. If I get stuck in a deeper blizzard tonight, that would be a disaster, he thought. But he calmly tried to trace his own footprints, to find the way back. After wandering around for 2 or 3 hours, he finally saw a faint glimmer of light. It was a path leading to the village where Linda lived. Efficiency, he had no choice but to be exhausted. Hungry. Finally, he arrived near the village. As soon as he opened Linda's door, Linda ran towards him with a look of yes. "What can I do? Where have you gone? It's dark, and you haven't come back yet. I'm really worried sick. Do you know how worried I am?" Can only answer while gasping for breath. "I'm lost. And my phone has no signal." "I'm sorry," Lin breathed a sigh of relief. "Then raise your voice, as if you were very angry." "Too dangerous. Do you know how dangerous the forest here is? Tourists often go missing." His eyes were filled with tears, expressing the emotions that had been building up inside him. He had not returned all day, so he asked the villagers, but didn't know what to do. Could only say he was really sorry with a look of shame. "I was too careless." Linda blamed him several times, for his reckless behavior, but finally hugged him tightly. That night, Linda hugged him tightly, helpless. It seems he found a family of 13. 9 refused to defend. He had to feel a warm current surging in his heart, until someone cared so much for him, feeling each other's questions and breaths. The two cherished the dangerous time when Yuanqi was in danger. After this incident, Linda could only say to Xiao Zhao, "This forest is much more dangerous than we imagined. Don't go too far alone." Can only sincerely reflect on one's own behavior and promise to be more careful. This small conflict and crisis made the two of them even closer. A few days later, Xiao Zhuo was helping with housework and drinking tea with his boss. When they finished adding new firewood, they looked at each other's faces through the brilliant glow of the fire. They had to take a deep breath to calm themselves down. I shouldn't delay any longer. I must tell him my feelings. Linda, with you like this makes me feel. I didn't know such emotions existed before. Linda went outside to find a head. What kind of emotion? Could only feel a little hot in her face. Honestly, I love you too much. It's not just gratitude or liking. There's something more. I don't know how to explain. But you're really special to me. Linda seemed to shiver slightly, but soon her face turned pink. She blinked her eyes. Is it really the case? I can only just muster up more courage. Yes, the reason I've been here for so long is not just because of the scenery. For some reason, I feel comfortable and excited when I'm with you. Linda breathed tremulously, gently held my hand. His hands are warm and slender. I also think you are very special. At first, I was just helping you, but I started to like being with you. I didn't know I would have these feelings, saying, "Done." Linda suddenly moved closer to Jihao. At the moment their gazes met, Jihao's heart rate accelerated. Linda's lips touched his differently. Cultural and language barriers have long collapsed. This is something like in the dead of night. The feeling of quiet snowflakes falling, like the warm burning emotion, like a flame burning in the heart. After a long embrace and a brief kiss, the two didn't know what to say. Finally, they embraced each other silently, watching the light and shadow sway, feeling that in this village, every moment they spent together, all perfectly connected together. After confirming each other's love, their daily lives became more filled with love. Every morning, they would both greet each other first, share smiles in their little daily lives. Lin lives a busy life, running errands and managing the farm, but he tries his best to have lunch with Jihao. Jihao also actively helped him. In the evening, they prepared dinner together. Sitting on the comfortable sofa, hugging each other, they watched TV together. Although they need English letters, but they do so by watching Nordic TV shows or movies. To create your own time advantage, they will host me. Turn off the lights. E-commerce exploded, staring into each other's eyes. Talking for a long time, Linda gradually shared more about her past experiences. Her parents died young. Like AG, she grew up alone, distant from relatives. She failed to find a job in big cities multiple times, and she was hurt in interpersonal relationships. I find it hard to get along with people, especially because I'm not good at expressing my feelings, he confessed. Could only comfort him, but someone as warm as you will definitely meet a good person. Linda seemed to feel comforted by his words. She shed tears for the first time. Thank you for understanding me. She could only gently hug him. He did it. The two nurtured their love day after day. Even when they occasionally argued, they would quickly hold each other's hands, make up as before. One day, a beautiful night came. A green wave rose from the aurora, spreading across the sky. Two people walked hand in hand into the courtyard, looking at the wonderful light that passed through the entire sky. Linda said in amazement, I don't know if I do it every few months. You can see such a clear light of beige. Can only smile happily. I'm glad I didn't leave here and be able to share with you this moment. Linda tightly held the other's hand. Answered, I am too. The aurora borealis shone in the night sky, as if blessing their future. After watching the northern lights together, the two of them had actually already surpassed the relationship between lovers and roommates. This is no longer the concept of temporary stay or homestay, but living together in the same house. A life that relies on each other. In the morning, they wake up and kiss each other as a greeting. Shopping together. Cleaning and fixing the house together. Sharing small joys and small difficulties together. Conflicts naturally occur in the process. Only has the dietary habits of Taiwanese people. Often want to eat braised pork rice and meatballs. Linda has not yet fully adapted to this taste. On the contrary, only often find it difficult. It's hard to accept Linda's favorite secret code for foraging. But the two found this small compromise and gradually understood each other's food, adjusting their own tastes. The issue is about the cured visa and residence period. He came to Sweden with a visa all along, but he has already expired the residence period. If he wants to stay in Sweden, he must have a French residence permit. But there is no specific method yet. Linda said she would find a way to see if there is a way to help him. She also said she would do it this way later. Wait for a while, then consider coming back to Taiwan for a period of time. They all felt that talking about marriage now was too early. Nevertheless, the relationship between the two has indeed deepened. One night, they expressed their love for each other ardently and shared more intimacy between Linda's room and Jihao's room, moving around more frequently. Ultimately had to start sleeping in Linda's bed instead of in his water bag. Unlike the world outside where the blizzard raged, the room was filled with warmth and passion. After living together for several months, Linda suddenly complained that he had felt unwell since the morning. He felt nauseous and dizzy, so he took a leave from the store to rest at home. Had to take care of him, and advised him to go to the hospital. There are no decent hospitals in the village. It takes several hours to drive to the big hospital. Linda went to a small health center outside the village to have a simple checkup. A few days later, the results came out. It's exciting. She was diagnosed with pregnancy. The doctor looks a bit cold. Linda didn't know what to do. I'm going to have a child. What should I do? He went home blankly. Told this message to Jihao. Jihao couldn't speak either because of the cold. They haven't promised to get married yet. Moreover, their cultural differences and future are uncertain. But soon, a strange joy surged through his heart. He could only hold Linda's hand and sincerely say, "Linda, for both of us. It's a wonderful thing. I feel ashamed, but I want to take responsibility. This is our child." Linda hugged Jihao, tears in her eyes. I also believe in people, but to be honest, I am very scared. I have never had a family. I can only firmly answer that let's work together. Create the best environment for our children. That night, two people sat by the fireplace, thinking about the future of their child. They were worried. Will the child grow up in the forests of Sweden? Will there be a chance to go to Taiwan? And what languages will they learn? But on the other hand, they are filled with heart-pounding hope. With the passage of time, Linda's stomach is getting bigger and bigger. Can only try to make him feel comfortable. Do housework and outdoor work. The villagers also heard the news and extend a helping hand. Congratulations! If you need baby clothes, please let me know. This is a warm message, the store manager said. They haven't seen such joy for a long time. They often pack food for Linda and Jihao. There are also difficulties. Linda has a severe life reaction, cannot eat, and his physical strength is also declining. Because he has to go to and from the hospital, had to buy a car. Every month drive him to the hospital in the city. A couple of times, medical staff advised him to be especially careful, because this is his first child, and he is not accustomed to this diet or environment. But fortunately, the pregnancy process went smoothly. No special complications have occurred. With the passage of time, Linda will talk to the baby in his stomach. Even if he feels uncomfortable, he can only put his hand on his abdomen, whispering that our child should be born healthy. Mom and Dad are waiting for you. The two have new life goals. The day when it's finally time to start face masks has arrived. Lin Daizheng also screamed in pain. Could only quickly drive him to the hospital. The Dongji Road in the northern area is very dangerous. But with the help of the villagers, they have safely arrived at the hospital. After a long delivery, a lovely daughter was born. Linda cried with the baby. Jihao's eyes also turned red. This little life that had just arrived in the world announced its existence with a cry of suffering. Several years after meeting Only and Linda, they decided to get married. They did not have a grand wedding, but with the villagers, a small celebration has been arranged. They invited a pastor to do a simple experimental painting. There is a Skargason, and there is also simple cueing, singing, and dancing. Linda wore a white dress, had to wear a neat suit. They swore to be together forever. Belle, a person who doesn't know the meaning of family. He recovered and the children started a new life. During this time, their second daughter was born. Their first daughter began to walk. Pregnancy and childbirth again. More busy. But the two gradually formed a family system and created life. At the front of the house, they installed a small ball front and painting body for the first daughter to play. Once the second baby starts crawling, the house becomes lively. Had to find temporary work in the village and worked hard for his wife and two daughters. Time passed as he raised his two daughters. The children grew up quickly. There is a good man. The eldest daughter uses the Chinese and Swedish on the table, calling her mom and dad mixed, and exploring the world with curious eyes. Little sister also followed her older sister, crawling around in the room, playing with toys. Lin Dayu was tired, felt like she was about to break down. The joy of raising them together with Jihao is even greater. One winter, there was a particularly clear and cold day in the village. One had to hear the forecast say, the aurora borealis will be very strong tonight. So he took good care of Linda and the children, put them in the car, and by preparing the base wings and scouts, come to protect the children. Soon, a clear green curve appeared. Wow! The eldest daughter stared straight at the sky. A smile with a hint of coolness said. The youngest daughter was held in her father's arms. She looked at the light and made a sound. Linda exclaimed, I don't often see such a clear aurora borealis. Can only say with a happy smile, I'm glad I didn't leave here, and can share it with you. This moment, the leader shook Zihao's hand and replied, I am too. Beggy light shines in the night sky, as if blessing the future of the two. Had to find each other with Linda, and built their home. They learned to love each other and each other's culture. Established one. A family that brings joy to both of them. Can only still like taking photos. Now he has a new model. Linda, then one day, Linda felt unwell. She took a pregnancy test. The result was positive. Linda was pregnant with their first son. They were both overjoyed and very happy in the little red house they had built, raised by another family member. More than 3 years have passed since I first met Linda. This family, now consisting of 5 members. A happy life is in their small house, where the love is real. Home is warm. When they have the chance to gather as a family, it's always a moment worth celebrating. Because at that moment, they knew, no matter what happens, they would always have their families to rely on. However, the story did not end there. Under the starry snow, the story of these 2 souls who met at the other end of the earth has just begun, and more people will join. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like.